As we reported earlier in the show, the LMD Nielsen Business Confidence Index continues to stay at the heights which it has scaled in the aftermath of the war. But should biz sentiment actually be much higher than it is today? Anushan Selvaraja got in touch with the Nielsen company Lanka to find out more.
Welcome to the Voice of Business. I have with me the Managing Director of the Nielsen Company, Shaheen Kader. Now, Shaheen, the latest edition of LMD quotes you as saying that perhaps the BCI should be higher than what it is today, despite the fact that it is only 10 points shy of an all-time high of 188 way back in December 2002. Why is this so?
Yeah, I think the index can go up to a maximum of about 300. And we are actually at the moment about 170, so about halfway of the maximum possibility what the index can go up to. This is despite the best case scenario we've had for business in the last 25 or more years. End of war, healthy company profits, etc. So, I feel something like the 200 mark is something that we should aim for. I mean, the business sector should aim to try and move the index up there, but we are still somewhat short of that. And therefore, ideally we need a quantum jump in the index to indicate that the business sector is hugely excited about growth prospects. At the moment, the business sector, I would say, is somewhat positively disposed rather than being extremely buoyant.
You have also said in LMD that the government must create more opportunities for the private sector to invest in infrastructure development. Can you tell us why and also whether or not this is practical, given that there is a steady flow of aid coming in, especially from China?
Of course, Chinese aid is coming in for infrastructure, especially for the airports, the harbors, and so on. But there are other areas where the private sector can look for opportunities provided the government works with them. These would be areas like the roads and the railways, for example. Obviously, private sector companies expect a financial return. So if any investment in roads, they would want a toll road or any other sort of financial return model to work on. Otherwise, they will not invest. The railways too are currently not really open to the private sector. I think Expo Lanka has just talked about getting into the private sector railway network in some way, but I think the opportunities are far more. Imagine, the business possibilities and the cost savings. If containers can be used, the container traffic can be diverted to rail, and the railway station land or the railway owned land is converted to large warehousing complexes. Also car parks for those who wish to drive to the station, park their car and then take the train to work. So these, would transform the way we work and the way we sort of move around.
The role played by the state in key sectors such as banking, retailing, utilities and infrastructure development also comes into focus in the June edition of LMD. You say that this restricts opportunities for the private sector investment. Can you expand on this?
In many areas, banking, retailing, transport, local road transport, air travel, telecom and so on, the private sector is facing competition, I would say more so from government corporations rather than other private sector companies. Ideally, there should be more private sector involvement in these areas. And banks are sitting on excess cash deposits. They are not really lending. They need to lend to entrepreneurs more to drive up the setting up of small and medium-sized businesses, which will ultimately create employment opportunities and thereby drive consumption and also thereby drive economic growth.
Where do you expect to see the BCI in the short and medium term, Shaheen? And what are the chief sensitivities involved? Is there scope for the index to go much further and perhaps breach the 200 mark for the first time?
It all depends on how inflation, whether inflation can be kept under control. Also thereby, bringing down bank lending rates to single digits. I do not really see the index going up hugely if inflation and double-digit lending is the order of the day. However, if lending rates do drop to single digits, I think a lot of businesses will take opportunities and plan expansion and thereby, create more optimism in the country.
That was Shaheen Kader speaking to Anushan Selvaraja. Thank you for watching our show. We'll see you again next week at the same time.